Have you ever had your $300,000 combine towed in the middle of harvest season because some HOA Karen decided it was too ugly for a neighborhood view? That happened. And she had no clue that not only was the land outside her jurisdiction, it was actually leased to the state. And I'm the one leasing it. So when she had my combine towed, she didn't just mess with a farmer. She interfered with a federal operation. But let's rewind. I've lived on the edge of this HOA enclave for nearly 10 years. My property borders their manicured suburbia. For the most part, we kept our distance. I farm. They barbecue and complain about paint shades. Peaceful coexistence until Valerie got elected HOA president. Valerie, with her taste for control and her neon orange windbreaker, became the HOA version of a dictator with a clipboard. It started with noise complaints about my roosters. Then my grain silos became an aesthetic blight. But the real trouble began during harvest. My north field, 140 acres of state lease cropland, wrapped around their neighborhood like a protective horseshoe. That field is under contract with the state's agricultural department for emergency food supply. When it's harvest time, we don't delay. I was running my combine at sunrise, sipping coffee, windows cracked, and Johnny Cash humming through the cabin speakers. I figured maybe Valerie would let it go this year. Nope. By the second day, she was on the edge of her property with her arms crossed and clipboard in hand, staring like she was about to launch an invasion. I shut off the combine and waved. She didn't wave back. Instead, she shouted that I was in violation of community peace standards and that my combine was creating a disruptive visual experience. I almost spit out my coffee. That land isn't HOA property, I told her. It's classified farmland leased by the state. It's within our visual domain, she snapped. It's a tractor, not a Viking funeral, I joked. She didn't laugh. That night, I locked up the combine and called it a day. The next morning, it was gone. Not moved. Not relocated. Gone. The gravel path was empty. I thought maybe the state took it for inspection, but I had no missed calls. Then I saw the paper taped to my barn towed. Abandoned machinery reported by HOA safety oversight. I thought it was a prank, but she'd actually done it. Valerie had convinced a towing company to haul off a 12-ton combine during a state-scheduled harvest window. Thing is, that combine was part of an active federal contract. Towing it was a federal offense. By noon, I had a state inspector, a sheriff's deputy, and a transportation compliance officer on my property. Valerie showed up, too, in full HOA regalia. Ma'am, the inspector asked, can you explain why you instructed a third-party service to remove state-contracted equipment from active agricultural property? She puffed up. It was parked near our line. It was a nuisance. Visual range is not legal jurisdiction, he replied. Then I stepped in. I leased that land. All 140 acres. Been under contract with the state for 6 years. Valerie's face turned every shade of wrong. She tried to backpedal, said it was a mistake, someone else authorized it. Too late. Everything was going into an official report to be shared with the state attorney's office. But didn't end there. 2 days later, the state inspector returned with backup. A suited man with a briefcase and badge stepped out. Department of Infrastructure Integrity. Turns out, my combine was classified as essential agricultural infrastructure. Valerie hadn't just committed a petty act. She disrupted a critical supply chain asset. They had paperwork, incident reports, property line surveys. Even better, one of Valerie's own emails, bragging about removing the eyesore from her neighborhood. A resident had anonymously submitted it. The combine had been parked 74 feet outside the HOA boundary, well within the state zone. Valerie tried to argue again, but the agents weren't having it. They hit her with a Level 2 investigation under the Agricultural Infrastructure Protection Act. Possible fines, liability for losses, even criminal charges. I remember the dash cam on the combine. Uploaded the footage to the state. It showed Valerie directing the tow truck, posing for photos, saying this will show him who runs this neighborhood. The tow company? Not even licensed for AG equipment. No permits. No insurance. The state was now looking at her for orchestrating an illegal recovery. The sheriff showed up the next day with a citation and a request for formal statement. Neighbors started apologizing. Some brought pies. Valerie? She stopped leaving her house. Her name vanished from the HOA bulletin. But I knew she wasn't done. Then came a letter from a local attorney. I was being accused of emotional distress and visual degradation. They demanded I cease farming within 500 feet of the HOA. I laughed so hard I nearly fell off my porch. I brought the letter to the AG compliance officer. He read it and called the state's legal team. 36 hours later, Valerie received her own letter, a formal cease and desist. Her lawyer filed a suit anyway. But the judge signed? A colleague from a land use reform task force I worked on. The case was dismissed instantly. The judge even issued a formal warning for misuse of court resources. More dirt came out. HOA funds used for personal expenses. An illegal privacy wall. Unauthorized reimbursements. Valerie was ousted during an emergency board meeting. New flyers went out. Special election. Interim president. But Valerie wasn't done. She planned a Fall Harmony Festival to regain her crown. Food trucks, hayrides, bounce houses, all scheduled at the HOA green space, accessible only by one road, Tractorway. My road. I hadn't renewed the HOA's easement. I flagged the road for agricultural use during the festival weekend. County notices went out. All non-residential traffic needed permits, approved by me. I didn't deny any. I just didn't approve them in time. Vendors turned away. Bounce houses deflated. Meanwhile, my Harvest Day festival, with kettle corn, pony rides, live bluegrass, was in full swing. HOA families migrated over. Even the sheriff was there, eating a turkey leg. Valerie tried to join. She was intercepted. I had filed a private trespass notice, signed and stamped. Her final play? An appeal to the county to declare Tractorway public. She didn't know I had filed paperwork to turn it into a gated agricultural easement. The gate went up 2 weeks later. Only vehicles with access codes could enter. HOA residents signed the agreement. Valerie refused. She now had to drive 20 extra minutes down a potholed road every day. She fought the address change. She lost. I installed a custom mailbox shaped like a tractor. Kids loved it. Valerie, had to collect her mail from a box shaped like the thing she tried to erase. Eventually, her house went up for sale. No tours, just a quiet online listing. She moved across town to a condo. The day the moving truck rolled out, I sat on my porch with a glass of lemonade. The gate opened for the movers, who followed protocol. Valerie didn't look back. Now, the neighborhood is peaceful. Steve, our new HOA president, hosted a potluck with a tractor-shaped cake. I stood under the stars that night, listening to the crops whisper in the wind. The gate stood firm. Valerie was gone, and all it took was the truth, a little patience, and one very well-placed tractor.